Hello and welcome to another Bodgit and Leggit video. We have a 2011 Peugeot 3008. Now we have parking reversing aid problems. So I'm in the parking aid module. Now there's a few things we can do. First we're going to recode. I'll show you the codes I got and I'll show you why it threw me. And we found the problem, but it's still working. So stay tuned to see what I mean by that. It's faulty, but it's still working. So as we read the faults, we have exterior rear left sensor fault. Now that's good. We have 4 sensors, so you would assume, you know, we've got an inside and outside one on the left, exterior and interior, and same on the right hand side. So what I decided to do was, let's just come out of here a second before I do that. Let's just go down to live data and see exactly what's going on. Let's make sure the system is turned on first, because you can turn the system on or off, and the button for turning it off is inactive and the warning light is not lit, so that means it's on. But we do have status rear park sensor not working. We don't have front sensor, so we won't worry about that. But as you can see here, length of the measurement in space in meters 0.00, so it's completely shut down. We've got no, it's not reading anything essentially. It's not beeping at us either. Now we do have a tow bar fitted, so just be aware if you have a tow bar fitted, that could be an issue. But that isn't our issue in this case. We should be reading, I'm not sure the exact measurement, I think it's between 2.5 meters or 3 meters, in and around there. I can't remember exactly, but we should be reading some sort of space that it can see, and as you can see, it's essentially 0. So this sensor has shut the system down, but we should still be able to test it. And the way I tested it, let's go to the back and I'll show you. Now what I'm using is my little handheld scope, because I can't find the connection to connect this to the big one. This is from Peugeot. It's the ultrasonic tester for the reversing sensors. And all we do is put this on the sensor. Now the car is on, it's in reverse, it's an automatic. The handbrake is on, and I've also wedged the pedal so it's not moving anywhere. That's very important. You need to make sure it's not going to move. So we put up next to the sensor. As we can see, we have a reading. You can see that. Boom. You can see that. There we go. We have a nice reading. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put it to the bad sensor. And there we go. Exactly the same. Let's go to one more sensor. And boom. They're all reading good. So then I'm thinking, oh, what's going on here? All the sensors are reading good, but we have a problem with the right hand, I think it said. The right hand sensor. So I then had to kind of go a bit old school, forget about technology, and do it old school, and I'll show you what I did. Right, so what I did was, this is where it kind of messed me up a little bit, because as we can see it said right, so I assumed we have, you can't really see it, but anyway, we have an inner and an outer one on the right hand side and the same on the left hand side. So I just assumed it was going to be left and a right. But it wasn't. So what I did was I just swapped the sensors around and I still had the same reading. So in other words, I got the right hand sensor and I swapped it with the inside one and it was still the same. And I'm like, how can this still be the same? We must have a wiring issue somewhere, because it can't be a sensor issue. All the sensors are working, as we can see, which is unusual because it means it's putting the power out, but it is the signal getting back to the computer. It's putting a signal out, but it doesn't mean it's getting back. So that's the key. And when I swapped the sensors around, I was expecting to get a different error code, but I didn't. So then what I decided to do, under the car here, which I'll show you in a second, is the multi-plug that controls all the wires. So the way I thought of it, rather than trying to get wiring diagrams out and get everything overcomplicated at the minute, I'm just going to disconnect the multi-plug at the back. If then I get all 4 error codes, I know the wiring from that plug all the way back to the module is okay, because the module can then say, hold on a second, all 4 sensors are gone, there's an issue. Now if the reading stays the same, I then know that we've got a problem with the wiring from the plug to the module. That's when you're going to need wiring diagrams and all that type of stuff. But at the minute, we don't need any wiring diagrams. So let's see, once we disconnect this plug under here, let's see what the computer says. Right, hopefully you can see this. You see the wire there. You can just see the multi-plug. So I'm just going to disconnect this. Yes, I am. You can see. Now, I've disconnected this plug, as you can see here. So now all 4 of our sensors are completely disconnected from the module. Let's see what error codes we've got now. Right, hopefully you can see this. And there we go, boom, we've got 4 error codes. So I now knew that from that wiring plug all the way back to the control module, that it's fine. So when you look at it, it does say left and right, exterior and interior. And I didn't look at it properly. And that's where I got confused. So anyway, we now know we've got all 4 codes coming up here. So the computer thinks that all 4 sensors, well, there's a problem with all 4 sensors. And of course there is, because we've disconnected it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to connect it back, clear the faults, and let's see which one comes back up. And as we can see, we've got exterior, rear, left. So we now know that's the sensor that's gone. So what I wanted to do, just to make 100% sure, is I switched the sensors around. So I got the rear left and I switched it to another sensor, and this will then prove our wire integrity from the plug to the sensors. And this is without any wiring diagrams, without anything at all. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch the sensor and let's see what happens. Right, okay, so we've now, well, we've got interior left. So now I've changed it around. We'll just go to clear faults. We'll just go back into it. And there we go, interior right. So, interior left, sorry. Interior left. So I now know that that sensor is faulty, even though it's kicking out a signal. But there's obviously something internally in it that the computer doesn't like. Even though it's kicking out the right signal, maybe it's not sending any signal back. So the actual signal back could be faulty. The sensor is working, but the signal back is faulty. That's the only thing I can really think of, unless there's maybe slightly high resistance in it, but yet if there was, then the readings will be different and they're exactly the same. So I'm guessing the sensor wire, it's not receiving any signal back. So I'm going to get a new one, we'll plug it in, we'll see the difference between the signals, and hopefully by the time I get a new one I might have my connection for the big scope as well, and we can put it on that just to make it easy. So yeah, even with the right tool, sometimes you can very easily get caught out. So it's just something to be aware of. But very easily, by disconnecting sensors and swapping them without needing any wiring diagrams, we essentially solved it. Now, if you do that and the reading didn't change and you've got a problem from the plug back, then yes, you are going to need wiring diagrams. You're going to need to know an awful lot more about the system and everything. But we didn't have that problem in this case. Sorted. Right, unfortunately I didn't get a chance to do the end of this video because the customer wanted his car back quickly. I quickly fitted it and he was on his way. As you can hear, I haven't got the man flu, I've got the plague. I don't want to talk about it because I don't make a big deal, but I've got the plague. But anyway, we put the new sensor in and everything was fine. So it just goes to show, do some very, very simple check, swap the sensors over, see if you get a different error code. Then you know the wire integrity from the plug to the sensors is good. Once you know that, you know you've definitely got an issue with the sensor. Change the sensor, put it in, cleared the codes, absolutely perfect. So in this case we didn't need any wiring diagrams. Sometimes just be careful, even using the right tools can kind of trick you. But what was essentially happening was, obviously it wasn't getting back to the computer didn't like it, thought the sensor was dead. There we go, swapped it, sorted, done, it's working, it's beeping, it's doing everything it's supposed to do. So there we go. So look, hope it helps. Please like, share, comment and subscribe as usual. Don't forget, links up here, links down there to my Facebook, Instagram, Patreon,
on and all that. But most importantly, don't forget, get your hands dirty and don't catch the plague. Sorted.